Hi, Eddie here. We got something interesting to talk about. And, a Beatle thought. I heard an interview with somebody. It was from a news interview of um, somebody that was interviewing someone that was very informative about the Beatles. And they asked, the question was asked of why he thinks they broke up, and he came to the conclusion that it wasn't, that it wasn't Yoko. And Paul himself said that, well, we just came full circle, and that's it, and that's why we went our separate ways. But there was a lot of things that contributed to that. Their manager died. They stopped touring, and but there's a very interesting thought that this person had as to why the Beatles really broke up. The, the straw, the last straw that broke the camel's back. And the thing is, like this. The thing is, he said that the Beatles were very much felt the importance of having a single. The singles were more important to all of the Beatles than the actual albums, than the whole album. So, in other words, Sgt. Pepper, which had no singles on it, Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever came around that time, and it was not on the album, so they just released it as a single instead. So, so his thought was that the Beatles, especially John and Paul, felt that having a number one single was more important than even the album. And if you look back at who the lead singers were and whose song it was that was, as they call it, the A side of a single, especially in the later years, in the 67 to 70, it was mostly Paul. Mostly Paul. For example, the first Apple release single that they made, Hey Jude, with the flip side of Revolver. Hey Jude was Paul, and Revolver was John. Now, John would have loved to had the number one hit. And the thing is, they quoted a double A record, a B-side. They called it a double A. But if you look at the record itself, Hey Jude, it was an apple symbol. So you had the green apple, and the other side you had half an apple. So usually the one on the side with the side of the green apple, that would be the A side, and the B side would be the half apple. So it was Hey Jude was on the green apple side, the whole apple, and Revolution was on the half apple. So it shows that Revolution is really the B side of the single. And of course, everyone knows that Hey Jude is one of the most played records. It went to number one for weeks on end, and the most played records of their records, much more than Revolution. Now, things like that probably annoyed John Lennon. He wanted to have a number one hit, and he wasn't getting it. There's another example where you had the single Come Together. The flip side is Something with George Harrison. And everyone said that George Harrison's song was the best song of the album. Paul said that. Paul said that, and John said that Something was the best song of the album. So better than his Come Together, and better than anything Paul did on the album, including Golden Slumbers. So here you go, have again George having the A side, and John having the B side. If they're going to say that Something is a better song, the best song of the album, of course, is better than Come Together. And if it's better than Come Together, then that's the A song. A song like a single like Let It Be. Yeah, Let It Be on the A side. And on the B side, you had You Know Your Name, Look Up the Number. I can't think of anyone who would write that other than John. So, here again, Let It Be is the A song. And You Know Your Name, Look Up the Number is the John song. And that's the B side. Again, he has the B side. So I think that it really affected John. The singles affected John, and him not being able to get the A side single. In the early years, he did. Ticket to Ride was his. That was a single. Songs like that. Help. Songs like that. Nowhere Man, his song. Something happened from 67 on that Paul usually had the number one hit. Going back before Apple, you had the last Capitol single, it was Capitol Records in America, the last Capitol single, Lady Madonna. And the flip side is The Inner Light with George Harrison, which is a very nice song, but it's definitely not an A song. So, Lady Madonna is the A side and the number one hit. Again, Paul. So I think it affected John. It affected George. And Paul said that John, it was John's fault that John quit the Beatles first. And then later on, Paul made it public first, but John said, "I'm quitting the Beatles" to the Beatles before it was announced. And so that's my thought that John basically wanted to have some A singles, number one singles. And of course he had Instant Karma, Cold Turkey, they started getting these singles, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. So that was an interesting thought, that this person thinks the real reason why the Beatles broke up was because they felt the singles were very important, and they were unhappy that they weren't getting the number one singles. And this is the first time I ever heard that before. I never heard those thoughts, but I think it's very interesting. What do you guys think? You think that it makes sense? That's the reason why the bottom line reason why they broke up? All right. I'd like to hear your comments. Send me a comment. Also, subscribe. I'd love it. I'd love to see more subscriptions. Okay? Take care, guys. That'll be it for today. Bye.